So a lot of times I get asked, well, most of the questions, like I get asked a lot of questions on YouTube and such. And most of the time, this guy's up there looking. Let me drive down the street a little bit, and then I'll continue to talk. So anyway, so I get asked, a lot of times, like, people are comments in my videos, and they're, why you didn't edge, or you didn't edge, or well, no, I don't. And then when I make the statement, well, no, I don't edge every house, I get the reply. Damn, should I turn that? I get the reply, well, you should take pride in your work, and blah blah blah. Listen, this is how it goes. There is, I don't know where y'all live at. I don't know what city y'all from. I'm not in the biggest city, but there's over 400,000 people in this city alone. And where I'm at in Kentucky, there's over 400,000 people. There's a lot of lawn care services in this city. A lot of people that just cut on the side. Like, I mean, it's not like, there's like 10 lawn care services. Like, man, there's hundreds and hundreds of them. And you have to be competitively priced to stay in business, basically. I mean, I'm not saying short yourself, but when you've been doing this for, more than a day, and when you've cut more than your own, you start to realize if you want to make some money, you might have to cut a yard and not spend all day doing it. Like, for instance, that yard, like, I have yards, I don't have a standard rate. Like, what I do is when somebody calls me or they text message me and they need service, I tell them yards typically start around $30. But I say it depends on the size of your yard and the height of your grass. So, but it typically, that's as typical. But I say, where are you located? What's your address? Because a lot of times people call and say, oh, well, can you come and cut today? Well, I don't know. I mean, usually I can. I mean, I'm 10 minutes anywhere, get you anywhere in the city, basically, as long as there's no traffic. But what I'll do is I'll look up their address, and I'll give them a quote. Like, say I say it's X amount of money. Like, say I say $30. And then, when I get there, it's like extra tall or whatever, or I need to make more money off the yard, or I feel like, there's a lot more edging, or say when I get there and they're real specific about how they want it cut or whatever. Well, then I'll say to them, well, I can still honor the $25 or the $30 or the $40, whatever I quoted them. I said, but the next time it's going to be this, or it's going to be this. So, like, when people say, when I get there, I'm like, well, how often do you want it cut? Oh, well, I only want it cut just one time. All right, well, it's going to be this amount. You kind of read people. It doesn't take me much money to get to a house. Like, I mean, especially if I'm next door or something, if I'm there, I don't have to spend hardly any money. It takes me like, 50 cents in gas maybe when I'm mowing. I mean, so anyway, when I get to a house, I look at the house. Like, I mean, I look at the people. I look at how often they're wanting it cut. I look at, how much money they're trying to spend. Not everybody, so not everybody's wanting to spend $40 on lawn care service. Like, I mean, I wish that I could just get all $40 houses, all $50 houses. I mean, I wish I could get all weekly houses. But that's just not the reality. The reality is that, if you're cutting a duplex like that for $25 and they're comfortable with it, then that's fine. They're not really requiring much work. They don't really care if there's if it's edged. They don't care if you miss a spot or two. I mean, not like you just intentionally want to miss a spot, but I mean, I have some houses that are basically the same size that pay $60, and they want it cut every week, and they want it striped. They don't care. They don't say, "Oh, I want it striped up," but when it's been striped, they're like, "Wow, that's the best my yard's ever looked," and they're very excited about having you come through. They want it cut. If it's raining, like if they're a weekly client and they want it cut every Thursday, and it's gonna rain on Thursday, they say come and cut on Wednesday, because they want their yard to look prestige all the time. Then you have some people, like I cut yesterday, and you have like I've got a guy. He's got a whole bunch of houses. I actually posted a video yesterday, and it's been raining. I was supposed to cut his yard Tuesday, and it rained Tuesday and Wednesday. Well, it rained Monday and Tuesday, and so then I was kind of behind for Wednesday, and I asked him if we was on for Thursday. Well, actually, I just asked him if we was on Tuesday, and he said, "Can you wait till Thursday or Friday?" And at first I was thinking, well, I'm trying to figure out why he's wanting to wait till Tuesday or Thursday or Friday. So then when I get there, or when I get to his properties, because he's got about, 10, 12, or 15 properties, I'm not sure. But when I get there, he squares up with me because he always pays me cash. He's a landlord, or he's a slumlord in my opinion. But anyway, he said, well, I wish we had communicated a little better. I would have actually had you come out on Monday or Tuesday and cut. And I was like, well, I'm just trying to keep a schedule, but, and he's like, well, he said it's going to rain today, which is supposed to, it's going to rain tonight, and it's going to rain Saturday. He's like, and so then it's going to make the grass grow. He's like, so, it's going to be a little taller, it's going to be a little shaggy. And I said, yeah, it's like, but, I don't want to, I said, looking at it from a business perspective, I don't want to have to, if it's already, because he's already getting them cut every 2 weeks. So if they're already tall as it is, so then you want me to wait until it's after it's been another 2-3 days worth of rain before you want me to cut? That's like, I'm kind of missing a payment. Anyway, this is longer than I expected. I don't even know what I was talking about. Oh, basically what I'm saying is that I've learned to read clients and to read what kind of work they do. I mean, if I get to the house, it's never been edged once before. Chances are they don't want it edged. They don't care. It's not that they don't want it edged. They just don't care. And yeah, I mean, it's if people drive by and they critique your work on your work. Like if somebody drove by from a nicer neighborhood and looked and it was like, oh wow, he doesn't edge, I'm not gonna hire him, then it could potentially happen. But if I can be there for 15 minutes, 12 to 15 minutes, and not have to edge because they don't have an edge, I mean, they're not gonna. I mean, I've had some houses where you do you edge it up when it's not been edged, and they're like, wow, man, it looks good, and they give you a tip. And then I've had some houses where you've gone beyond the work. You've edged and you've sprayed the flower bed with grass killer, even though they didn't ask you. But there's a lot that goes into it, and you start to realize after you've been doing this for a while, what you can and can't do, especially like in a neighborhood like that. Like if I'm in that neighborhood and somebody comes out and they're like, hey, how much you charge to cut? And I say, typical yards start around $30, but I can do yours, these for $25. Then they might say, ooh, well, I mean, I pay such and such $20, or man, would you do it for $20? Well, I mean, I could make maybe 30, so I'm losing out on $10 maybe, but if I don't cut the yard, then I'm losing out on 20. You know what I mean? If you don't cut the yard at all, you're not making any money. So never, you don't want to sell yourself short. You don't want to do a $60 yard. You don't want to do an acre yard, an acre lot for $20. You don't want to lose money that way. But you don't want to, let me see what's pushing me right now. You don't want to lose money in general. You don't want to not make any money. You can. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not professional. I mean, I'm professional, but I'm not a know it all, or I don't know how to do it all, or this is not a how-to video. This is just kind of like being a hustler in a sense. Not ripping people off, but you kind of get a gist. I mean, like I've had some houses where I go to them and they're in prestige neighborhoods, and you'll tell them, oh well, it'd be $40 to cut your yard. Well, can you do it for 25? And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do it for 25 because I'm gonna lose money doing this yard for 25. Because it's a lot of work. They've got a lot of statues, and they've got a lot of ornaments, and the solar panel lighting, and they've got all this, the stuff in the yard that you got to trim around, and you've got to, if it's been raining, you might have to double cut because of the you don't want any grass to be on top, and so you just explain. Like I had a client, and they wanted it cut. It was when I first started, and it was in a really nice neighborhood, but I was just excited to cut the yard, so I was just like, yeah, 25, I just get on my Cub Cadet and cut. And then she would want it cut every 2 weeks, and then she would pay late, so like I'd cut today and then send her a bill, and then then I might cut again in 2 more weeks and send her a bill, and she may not pay till the third cut, which is not like we had in this agreement that it was going to be paid once a month or whatever. It would just be, sometimes I would send her a bill and she'd pay right then, and sometimes it would be a couple of days or a couple of weeks. And what would end up happening is that the yard would get like right now when it's raining and stuff a lot, the yard would be a little taller than normal. And I would say, well, in my opinion, so I would stop double cutting. Like I would double cut, and it'd take me, damn near an hour. And then I would just single cut because I started getting busy and everything. And so she would say, well, there's a lot of grass clippings on top. Can you, how come, why is there more grass clippings? Like, well, I used to double cut. So well, can you continue? Can you keep doing that? It looks better. It's like, well, no, I'm not gonna. If you want it cut and looking, that well, maybe you should get it cut every week instead of every 2 weeks. And because basically I'm losing money twice because I should have been charging $50, because I'm doing it twice basically. And then she had all these stepping stones, and you had to basically trim it wasn't even much of a front yard. It was mostly all backyard, and the front yard had like these stepping stones, so you couldn't. You'd have to. They were little. They were like you had to trim in between them. It was just a lot of work, but you live and you learn. Anyway, y'all are messing up my whole drive time, man. I'm trying to listen to music, so oh yeah. See my sub back here, by the way. Anyway, let me see. I might go to White Castle, give me something to eat. I'm hungry. Some food, White Castle. I might come back this way, give me something to eat. Anyway. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. I mean, I don't care. I care. I mean, it's not like I'm gonna I don't know. Anyway.